Is homogeneity sexy? I wonder. I think it must be, because we human beings are so enamored of it. Trendy clothes, the cool kids at school, popular music, cookie-cutter homes in the suburbs. We seek sameness in all sorts of ways. We seem to be hardwired with the desire to fit in with the majority group or the group in power. When the United Church was formed in 1925, and yes, we're almost 100 years old, our founders had a vision of a Christianized social order, a homogenized Protestant Canada, to help others fit in with a white, English-speaking Protestant culture. The Church set out to erase and correct everything and everyone that was different from this image. In hindsight, we can see the tremendous damage that this policy has done to some of our brothers and sisters throughout the land. Deplorable actions came from this drive to homogeneity. We continue to learn how deceptively dangerous our attraction to sameness can be, but still, it entices us. We struggle to be able to imagine alternatives. After all, how can we be united when we're very different? How can we reach our collective goals when we're not a collective? The answer lies in creation. Creation speaks to us, teaching us about the importance of diversity. Ecosystems, gene pools, gardens, flower arrangements, all are clear messages of God's desire and our need for diversity in creation. Homogeneity in creation leads to extinction, while diversity leads to growth and new life. Today's scripture lessons reinforce what creation shows us. The Genesis reading shows how people can reach impossible heights working as one single type of group with one single language. In response to this, God scatters the people and separates their languages, creating a huge diversity of peoples and cultures. This is not because they have reached great heights without God's help. That's not the point. But rather because they could reach even greater heights if they were a more diverse group and with God's aid. Clearly, we're not intended to be one people with one language. That would be too easy. It would be seductively simple. We're scattered to ensure that we are many, that we are not the same, that we have great diversity of kind and type and culture. The story of the Tower of Babel affirms that God's creation is meant to be diverse, even though we may strive against it. In the Gospel reading, Jesus tells the Syrophoenician woman that his ministry intended to be primarily for the people of Jewishness, the people of Judaism, the people of Israel. Let the children be fed first, for it's not fair to take the children's food and throw it to the dogs, he says. In his statement, the children are the Jewish people, and the dogs are a racial slur for those who are different, those who are Gentiles, non-Jews. Jesus has fallen into the trap of homogeneity by separating the children from the dogs. The grace in this passage comes from the woman who challenges Jesus. He's transformed in this conversation and changes the course of his ministry to include both Jewish and Gentile peoples. He accepts that diversity is the positive way, that his work is for all people, regardless of society or culture. Now, of course, the question for us is, what do we do with this notion of diversity? Can we step back from our infatuation with sameness to see that more than one way is even better, that more than one type is positive, that more than one kind of person is of benefit to us. I wonder. The isms of this world would seem to indicate that this is a hard road to walk. Racism, sexism, ableism, ageism, and all the other isms of the world are predicated on the idea that homogeneity is the norm, that sameness is what we aspire to, that all people really should be the same, and that the minority who are different are somehow out of step with what is normal and proper. And these isms are well entrenched in our culture and in most cultures. We in the majority wish that everyone could be just like us, don't we? Wouldn't the world be a better place then, we ask? Well, creation tells us that this is just not so. The world is not a better place when everything and everyone is just the same. The world is in fact in trouble when this is the case. Monoculture agriculture is proving to be problematic in terms of damaging the soil and creating invasive species of plants. Inbreeding of livestock and pets to make them just the same causes no end of problems. Dominant cultures are intolerant and divisive. Homogeneity is a real headache in so many ways. Of course, if you're in the majority, which so many of us are in so many ways, homogeneity still looks deceptively attractive. I mean, there are fewer rubbing points between peoples that way. Similar services and activities are attractive to many and serve the needs of most people. The same kinds of houses, the same kinds of stores, the same kind of foods, the same kind of services will work for a great many folks. Isn't homogeneity great? But where is the interest in that? Is it not in fact dissimilarity that's more interesting than sameness? There's the old romantic notion that opposites attract. Well, maybe there's some truth in that too. Maybe human being and human well-being has the need for difference too. Maybe it's in differences that we find our health and our vitality. It's not just individuals for which this holds true. It's the same with societies and cultures. It's only when there are differences among their constituent members that societies thrive and prosper. It's only when they bump up against other cultures that they define their own characteristics and know who they are, know themselves well. It's only when there's diversity within and among them that cultures develop the strength to continue, even in the face of difficulties or even disaster. Too much sameness weakens us, brings us to the point of extinction. There's a lesson in history for us there. When diversity is actually embraced, when it's cherished, then great things can happen. Diversity among families brings a richness to society that can't be achieved in any other way. When adults and children are exposed to different ways of being, different family ways and relationships, it highlights the strength of their own families, the strengths of their own ways, the strengths of their own lives, the positive aspects of their situations. A wide range of differences among people increases acceptance and tolerance and engages the imagination of everyone who encounters it. Embracing diversity does for a culture what diversity in creation does for nature. It provides more capacity for growth in many ways, and new life, whole new ways of operating can emerge. And it's simply more interesting to be part of a diverse and wide-ranging society than a simply homogeneous one. So what can we do with this notion of diversity? Well, we can try to move a little bit away from the illusion that homogeneity is the way to go. It could be difficult to leave that behind, I know. It's been so ingrained in us for so many years. We can move a little bit along the path toward diversity in our thinking. We can try connecting with some folks who are just a little bit different from ourselves. We can read about other cultures and find the things that appeal to us about them. We can look around and see others in a way that shows up their differences, and then evaluate that to see the ways that that's a positive thing. We can look around the world of nature and see the amazing differences that we encounter there, the amazing wonders of nature. We can let ourselves become entranced with that God-created multiplicity of beings, and then come to see that the same is true for people as well. In short, we can embrace the positivity of difference as a way of seeing the world around us, understanding that only in diversity will we be strong enough to deal with the vicissitudes that life will throw at us. In this, we become more adapted to changing circumstances. We come to adopt, when we need to, some of the ways of others that meet the needs of our own lives, our own time and place, perhaps better than our own ways. We become in tune with the rest of creation and gain our humanity and our holiness in a deeper way. We become ever more the people of God we are created to be.